The alien instructor mocked the human cadet, but 9 seconds later he was down on the floor. Alex. Harper stood nervously in the massive training hall of the Galactic Coalition Academy. He never thought he'd make it this far. As one of only 3 humans selected from Earth, he felt the weight of his entire species on his shoulders. The room buzzed with activity as alien cadets from dozens of worlds went through their exercises. Some aliens had multiple arms, others had scales or exoskeletons. A few even floated instead of walked. Humans were the newest species to join the Galactic Coalition after discovering faster-than-light travel, and everyone knew it. Attention! The sharp command cut through the noise, and all cadets formed perfect lines. Commander Zextral strode into the room. The alien officer had blue skin that shimmered under the lights and 4 muscular arms. His face featured clicking mandibles and large golden eyes that seemed to see everything. He walked slowly down the line of new recruits, stopping occasionally to inspect a cadet more closely. "First day at the academy," Zextral said, his voice surprisingly smooth for someone with mandibles. "Look around you. Only 60% of you will complete the first year. Only 30% will graduate." The commander continued his walk until he reached Alex. He stopped, golden eyes narrowing. "A human," he said, looking Alex up and down. "How interesting." Alex maintained his position, staring straight ahead as he'd been taught. He could feel everyone watching. "Tell me, human, what was your name again?" Zextral asked. "Cadet Harper, sir," Alex replied. "Cadet Harper," Zextral repeated. "Your species is quite new to space travel, aren't you? Barely a century since you left your single planet." "Yes, sir," Alex said. Zextral circled around Alex slowly. "I've studied human physiology, quite primitive compared to most spacefaring species. Weak muscle density, limited sensory capabilities, no natural defenses." Some of the alien cadets made sounds that might have been laughter. Alex fought to keep his face neutral. "Yet here you are," Zextral continued, "presuming to train alongside species that have been sailing the stars for thousands of years." The commander stopped in front of Alex again. "What exactly do humans bring to the Galactic Defense Corps? Cadet Harper, you lack the strength of the Taurians, the speed of the Saurians, and the natural armor of my people." Alex hesitated, unsure if he was meant to answer. "Speak, human," Zextral ordered. "Adaptability, sir," Alex replied. Zextral's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Adaptability," he repeated. "A fancy word for having no specialization at all." The commander turned to address all the cadets. "Tomorrow, combat assessments begin. We'll see what each of you is made of." His golden eyes flicked back to Alex. "Some species may find the experience more educational than others. Later that evening, Alex sat with his fellow human cadets in the mess hall. Kira Walsh pushed her food around her plate while Nick Rivera watched the alien cadets at the other tables. "He's going to make an example of one of us tomorrow," Kira said quietly. "I saw the way he looked at you, Alex." "Let him try," Alex replied, though his stomach tightened at the thought. Nick leaned forward. "Remember what Captain Reyes told us before we left Earth? They'll underestimate humans, use that." Alex nodded. He remembered the intensive training they'd received. While humans might not have natural advantages, they had developed combat techniques specifically designed to overcome stronger opponents. "Just remember," Kira said, "we're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting to prove humans belong here." As they talked, a tall, insect-like alien approached their table. The Saurian cadet looked down at them with compound eyes. "I would wish you luck tomorrow," the alien said, "but it would be wasted. Commander Zextral was a war hero in the Proxima conflict. He has broken cadets from much stronger species than yours." The alien walked away, leaving the 3 humans in silence. "Get some rest," Alex told his friends. "Tomorrow's going to be interesting." Alex woke before the alarm, his body tense with anticipation. He'd spent half the night practicing breathing, exercises, and reviewing combat techniques in his mind. The other cadets in his dormitory, mostly non-humans, were still asleep, their various breathing patterns creating an odd symphony of sounds. By the time Alex reached the training hall, most of the cadets had already assembled. The huge circular room had been rearranged overnight. Training mats covered the floor and various weapons hung on racks along the walls. Instructor stations surrounded the outer edge where senior officers could observe. Commander Zextral stood in the center, his blue skin gleaming under the bright lights. His forearms were crossed over his chest as his golden eyes scanned the room. "Form a circle," he ordered, and the cadets quickly complied, creating a ring around the central mat. "Combat assessment will determine your initial ranking," Zextral explained. "This is not about winning or losing, but showing your capabilities." His eyes stopped on Alex. "Some of you may find this challenging. Others may find it enlightening." Kira nudged Alex slightly. "He's definitely targeting you," she whispered. Zextral began calling cadets forward in pairs for brief sparring matches. Alex watched carefully as aliens of different species demonstrated their abilities. The Taurians used their massive strength. The Saurians relied on lightning-fast reflexes. A gaseous Zeltian used its unusual form to confuse its opponent. "Harper," Zextral finally called. "Center mat." Alex stepped forward, his heart pounding. Would he be paired with another cadet? "Today I will personally assess the human," Zextral announced. Murmurs spread through the gathered cadets. The commander rarely participated directly in assessments. "This is unusual," Zextral continued. "But humans are an unusual addition to our ranks. I believe a more experienced touch is needed to properly evaluate." Alex took position on the mat, facing the commander. The alien was nearly a foot taller than him, with twice as many arms and significantly more muscle mass. "We'll begin with basic disarmament," Zextral said. He pulled a training blade from his belt, a harmless practice weapon, but weighted like the real thing. "I will attack. Your goal is to disarm me without getting killed." Zextral began circling, all four arms loose and ready. "On your world you might have been exceptional," he said. "Here you're barely adequate." The commander lunged suddenly, stopping the blade an inch from Alex's throat. Alex hadn't moved. "Did I frighten you, cadet?" Zextral stepped back, his mandibles clicking in what Alex now recognized as the Viridian equivalent of laughter. Perhaps humans freeze when threatened, a poor trait for a soldier. Several alien cadets chuckled. Even a few instructors at the edges of the room seemed amused. "I've studied human physiology extensively," Zextral continued, circling again. "Slow muscles, limited joint rotation, poor senses. How your species survived predators on your world is beyond me." Alex remained centered, breathing steadily. His instructors on Earth had warned him about this. Psychological tactics designed to break an opponent's focus before the real fight began. "Your silence is commendable, at least," Zextral said. "Let's see if you can channel that into something useful." The commander shifted into a fighting stance, blade at the ready. His forearms created a nearly impenetrable defense while still allowing for offensive strikes. "Begin!" Zextral barked. Alex shifted his weight slightly, watching the commander's stance carefully. He noted how the alien held himself, weight distributed across 3 points, upper right arm holding the blade while the other 3 remained defensive. Alex knew what everyone expected. They expected him to attack foolishly and be quickly defeated. They expected a demonstration of human weakness. Instead, Alex waited, perfectly still and focused. "Are all humans this passive?" Zextral taunted. "Perhaps you're only good for running away." Zextral's patience ran out. He lunged forward with impressive speed, the training blade slicing through the air toward Alex's chest. Alex stepped back just enough for the blade to miss him by an inch. "At least you can dodge," Zextral commented, mandibles clicking rapidly. The next attack came faster, 2 quick slashes followed by a thrust. Alex evaded each move with minimal movement, never attempting to counter. The crowd of cadets watched, in silence. Some looked confused by Alex's defensive approach. Others seemed to be waiting for the inevitable moment when the human would fail. "Attack, human!" Zextral demanded. "Or is your species too weak to try?" Alex remained calm, analyzing every movement of his opponent. He noticed how Zextral shifted his weight before striking. how the commander's 4 arms coordinated their movements, how his center of balance differed from a human's. Frustrated by Alex's passivity, Zextral launched a more complex attack. His upper arm slashed with the blade while his lower right arm swept low, trying to knock Alex off his feet. Alex jumped over the sweeping arm and twisted away from the blade, landing lightly on his feet. Still, he made no move to counter. "Interesting," Zextral said, golden eyes narrowing. "You avoid rather than engage. Is this the famed human adaptability? It looks like cowardice to me." The insult hung in the air. Alex saw Kira and Nick stiffen among the watching cadets. Several alien cadets made sounds of agreement with the commander, but Alex remained focused, waiting for his moment. His Earth. Instructors had taught him to be patient, to understand that sometimes the best offense was letting your opponent believe they had the advantage. Perhaps your instructors on Earth exaggerated your species' capabilities. Zextral continued, circling again. Perhaps humans simply don't belong in the Galactic Defense Corps. This time, Alex noticed something new, a slight shift in Zextral's stance that suggested his next attack would come from the left. The commander was becoming predictable in his confidence. Zextral lunged again, this time with all 4 arms in coordination, a devastating attack that would have overwhelmed most opponents. The blade flashed toward Alex's neck while the commander's other arms moved to block any possible escape routes, but Alex had seen it coming. He stepped forward instead of back, entering Zextral's space when retreat was expected. The surprise was evident in the commander's golden eyes. "What are you—" Zextral began, but Alex was already moving. Using a technique developed on Earth centuries ago, Alex redirected rather than opposed the commander's superior strength. His right hand shot up, not toward the blade, but toward Zextral's upper left arm. The commander instinctively reacted by pivoting that arm inward, exactly as his combat training had taught him. But this played directly into Alex's strategy. With a subtle shift of his grip, Alex used Zextral's own momentum to guide that powerful arm into the path of the commander's blade arm. Surprised, Zextral pulled back his weapon to avoid striking himself. In that moment of confusion, Alex dropped low and swept his leg, not at Zextral's sturdy legs, but at the exact point where the alien's backward momentum had shifted his center of balance. Time seemed to slow down. The commander's eyes widened in shock as he began to topple backward. Alex completed his rotation, his hand closing around the hilt of the training blade, which Zextral's grip had loosened in surprise. The entire training hall went silent as Commander Zextral, decorated war hero and senior combat instructor, hit the mat with a heavy thud. The blade was now in Alex's hand, pointed downward at the Viridian's throat. "Yield," Alex said quietly. For several long seconds, no one in the training hall moved or spoke. The cadets stared in disbelief at the sight of Commander Zextral flat on his back with Alex standing over him, training blade pointed at the alien's throat. Even the instructors along the walls seemed frozen in shock. Zextral's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sound Alex couldn't interpret. The commander's golden eyes narrowed as he stared up at the human. "I yield," he finally said, voice carefully neutral. Alex stepped back and offered his hand to help the Viridian up. After a moment's hesitation, Zextral accepted, rising to his full height. All 4 of his arms moved to cross over his chest as he looked down at Alex. 9 seconds, one of the instructors called out from the sidelines. From first movement to takedown. More murmurs spread through the crowd of cadets. 9 seconds was all it had taken for the human to floor their intimidating commander. "What was that technique?" Zextral demanded. "Aikido, sir," Alex replied. "Modified for non-human opponents." "Aikido," the commander repeated, testing the unfamiliar word. "I'm not familiar with it." "It's a martial art from Earth," Alex explained, aware that every cadet was listening intently. "It uses an opponent's momentum against them. We don't rely on being the strongest or fastest, we can't. So we developed ways to use physics and psychology instead." Zextral's eyes narrowed further. "You let me attack, multiple times. You were studying my patterns." "Yes, sir." The commander took the training blade back from Alex. Most species develop combat techniques that enhance their natural advantages. Claws, strength, speed, he said thoughtfully. Humans develop techniques to overcome their natural disadvantages instead. A ripple of conversation passed through the gathered cadets. Kira and Nick couldn't hide their proud smiles. "Return to formation, Cadet Harper," Zexatral finally ordered. Then he added, somewhat reluctantly, "Impressive adaptation." As Alex moved back to his place in the circle, he passed the tall Saurian cadet who had approached their table the night before. The insect-like alien's compound eyes fixed on him with new interest. The rest of the combat assessments continued, but the mood had changed. The other cadets watched the humans with new respect, and even the non-human instructors seemed to be reevaluating their preconceptions. During the meal break, Alex could barely eat as cadets of various species approached him with questions. "How did you know where to strike?" asked a Taurian female with thick skin and massive arms. "I didn't strike," Alex explained. "I redirected. The goal isn't to match strength with strength, but to use your opponent's force against them." Kira squeezed his shoulder as she sat down beside him. "You should see the Saurians," she laughed. "They're already trying to copy your moves in the auxiliary training hall, not working out too well with their exoskeletons." "The commander is still watching you," Nick added, nodding toward the instructor's table. Alex glanced over to see Zexatral deep in conversation with several other officers, his golden eyes occasionally flicking in Alex's direction. "Is that good or bad?" Alex asked. "Definitely good," said a new voice. They looked up to see the Saurian cadet standing next to their table. "Commander Zexatral rarely shows interest in first-year cadets. My name is Lorik, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Lorik," Alex replied. "Want to join us?" The alien hesitated, then sat down. "No human has ever attended the academy before. We all expected you to fail the first assessment." "Underestimating an opponent is dangerous," Alex said. Lorik's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "A lesson our commander just learned the hard way." The next morning, Alex entered the training hall to find it rearranged. The mats were still there, but now various training weapons lined the walls. Cadets were already gathering, their voices a mix of different languages and sounds. "Harper," a familiar voice called. Alex turned to see Commander Zexatral approaching. The Viridian officer's face was unreadable. "Sir," Alex responded, standing at attention. "Walk with me," Zexatral ordered. As they moved away from the other cadets, Alex noticed several instructors watching with interest. News of yesterday's combat assessment had clearly spread throughout the academy. "I reviewed the recording of our match," Zexatral said, his voice lower than usual. 27 times. Alex remained silent, unsure how to respond. "In my 3 decades as a combat instructor, no cadet has ever defeated me in an assessment," the commander continued. "Especially not in 9 seconds. I apologize if I caused any embarrassment, sir," Alex said carefully. Zexatral's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Embarrassment? No, cadet. You demonstrated exactly what we look for in potential officers: adaptability and tactical thinking." They reached the far wall where various weapons were displayed. Zexatral picked up what looked like a 3-pronged staff. "This is a Viridian war spear," he explained. "Our traditional weapon for thousands of years. It is designed specifically for our 4-armed physiology and fighting style." He demonstrated a complex series of movements that utilized all 4 of his arms in perfect coordination. "No human could wield this effectively," he stated. "Just as no Viridian could properly use a human weapon designed for 2 arms. "That makes sense, sir," Alex replied, wondering where this was going. "Yet yesterday you used my own fighting style against me. You turned my strength into a weakness." Zexatral's golden eyes fixed on Alex. "That is what makes humans interesting. Not your physical capabilities, but how you compensate for their absence." The commander replaced the weapon on the wall. "I've been reviewing Earth's military history. Your species has repeatedly overcome technologically and physically superior opponents through adaptation and unconventional tactics." "We had to, sir," Alex said. "It was adapt or die many times over." Zextral made a sound that might have been approval. The Coalition faces threats from beyond the galactic rim, threats that may require unconventional approaches. He turned to face Alex directly. I've recommended to the Academy Board that human tactical theories be added to the curriculum. Alex blinked in surprise. Sir? And I would like you to assist in demonstrating these techniques to the other combat instructors. The commander's mandibles moved slowly, a sign of serious consideration. It seems I have been operating under false assumptions about your species' capabilities. Before Alex could respond, the Academy's alert system sounded, signaling the start of the day's training. We'll continue this discussion later, Zextral said. For now, return to your squad. As Alex rejoined Kira and Nick, they looked at him expectantly. What did the commander want? Kira whispered. I think I just became a teaching assistant, Alex replied, still processing the conversation. What? Nick's eyes widened. Before Alex could explain further, Zextral called the cadets to attention. The commander's golden eyes swept over the assembled group before landing on Alex. Today we begin specialized combat training, Zextral announced. We will focus on adapting techniques to counter opponents with different physiologies and strengths. He gestured toward Alex. Cadet Harper will demonstrate some human combat principles that focus on using an opponent's strength against them. Whispers rippled through the cadets as Alex walked to the center of the training area. He could feel their eyes on him, some curious, some skeptical, a few even hostile. Begin with the basics, Zextral instructed. Taking a deep breath, Alex moved to the center of the mat. In human martial arts, we have a concept called the path of least resistance when he began. The idea is simple. Why oppose strength directly when you can redirect it? Alex demonstrated a simple redirecting move, using his body to show how to guide an attacking force away from its target. The cadets watched with varying degrees of interest and skepticism. I need a volunteer, Alex said. For several seconds, no one stepped forward. Then Lurik, the tall Saurian cadet, moved onto the mat. I'll try, the insect-like alien said, mandibles clicking nervously. Thank you. Alex nodded. Now, I want you to try to grab me. Use your natural strength and speed. Lurik hesitated, looking at his clawed hands. I don't want to hurt you. Several cadets laughed at this, but Alex just smiled. I appreciate the concern, but this is exactly what I want to demonstrate. Try to grab my shoulder, don't hold back. The Saurian nodded and suddenly lunged forward with impressive speed, his arm shooting out toward Alex's right shoulder. Instead of trying to block or dodge completely, Alex turned slightly, his hand coming up to gently touch the inside of Lurik's arm. With minimal force, he redirected the Saurian's momentum past his body. Lurik stumbled forward, carried by his own strength and speed. He turned, compound eyes wide with surprise. How did you do that? I barely felt your touch. That's the point, Alex explained. I used your momentum rather than trying to stop it. It's like a river. It's easier to divert the flow than to build a dam. Commander Zextral stepped forward. Again, but slower. I want everyone to see the contact point. They repeated the demonstration several times, gradually slowing down so the other cadets could observe the technique. Soon others began volunteering to try attacking Alex, each experiencing how their own strength could be turned against them. A massive Taurian charged at Alex like a bull, only to find herself stumbling past him. A quick Zeltian attempted a series of rapid strikes which Alex smoothly redirected. With each demonstration, the cadets' interest grew. Pair up, Zextral finally ordered. Practice the basic redirection technique. Different species together. I want you to experience different physiologies and strengths. As the cadets paired off, Zextral moved beside Alex. Effective teaching, the commander said. You've made the concept accessible without overwhelming them with details. Thank you, sir, Alex replied. These are just the basics. Indeed. The commander watched as the pairs practiced, some more successfully than others. After this session, I want you to meet with the senior combat staff. They need to understand these principles as well. Alex nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and nervousness. Just yesterday he had been worried about proving humans belonged at the academy. Now he was teaching alien combat instructors. As the practice continued, Alex noticed that some species adapted to the technique more quickly than others. The more fluid-bodied aliens seemed to grasp the concept of redirection naturally, while the heavier, stronger species struggled with the subtlety required. "It's not working for me," complained a rock-like granulite cadet, whose dense mineral body moved with less grace than most species. "Different techniques work better for different bodies," Alex explained, approaching the frustrated cadet. "Let's find what works for your physiology." For the next hour, Alex moved among the pairs, adjusting his instruction to account for the incredible diversity of alien bodies. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had exoskeletons that limited certain movements. A few species had completely different centers of gravity than humans. By the end of the session, every cadet had successfully performed at least a basic redirection. The training hall buzzed with excited conversation as species that rarely interacted now discussed combat techniques with each other. Commander Zexitral called for attention. "This session has demonstrated an important principle beyond combat technique," he said, his voice carrying across the hall. "It has shown that what we perceive as weaknesses can become strengths when properly applied. Remember this lesson." His golden eyes found Alex. "Tomorrow we will continue these exercises." Dismissed. As the cadets filed out, Kira and Nick approached Alex. "Look at you," Kira grinned, "from being mocked to being the teacher in just one day." "The commander seems impressed," Nick added. "That's no small feat." Alex watched as Zexitral spoke with the other instructors, occasionally glancing in his direction. "I think humans might have more to offer the coalition than anyone expected," he said quietly. Word of Alex's success spread quickly through the academy. By evening meal, cadets from all programs, not just combat training, were approaching him with questions. The dining hall buzzed with excited conversation as species that rarely interacted now discussed human fighting techniques. "Is it true you defeated Commander Zexitral in 9 seconds?" asked a small, purple-skinned cadet from the engineering division. "Well, yes, but—" Alex began. "And now you're teaching the combat instructors?" interrupted another. Alex tried to eat while answering the constant stream of questions. Kira and Nick sat with him, occasionally helping to field inquiries when the attention became overwhelming. "You've become quite the celebrity," Nick laughed, pushing his tray aside. "I don't understand why," Alex replied. "I just use techniques we all learned back on Earth." "That's exactly why," said Kira. "You showed them something new. The Coalition has been sharing military knowledge for centuries, but human approaches are completely different." Their conversation was interrupted when Commander Zextral entered the dining hall. The usual buzz of conversation quieted as the Viridian officer walked directly to their table. "Harper," he said, mandibles working slowly. "My office after you. Finish eating." "Yes, sir," Alex replied. The commander nodded and left, but the dining hall remained unusually quiet. "That didn't sound like trouble," Nick whispered. "No," Alex agreed, "but something's up." 30 minutes later, Alex stood outside Commander Zexitral's office. The door slid open automatically, revealing a surprisingly simple room. Military awards. Hung on one wall and a large display screen showed various parts of the academy. Zextral wasn't alone. 3 other senior officers were present, a Taurian, a Zeltian, and a species Alex didn't recognize with translucent skin that revealed shadowy, internal organs. "Cadet Harper," Zextral gestured to an empty chair. "Please sit." Alex sat, trying to hide his nervousness. "We've been reviewing your performance," the commander began. "Not just yesterday's combat assessment, but your entire application package. From Earth." The Taurian officer leaned forward. "Your planet's military history is unusual. You've consistently overcome technologically and physically superior forces through adaptation." "We had to, ma'am," Alex replied. "Humans don't have natural advantages like many species." The translucent alien made a bubbling sound that the translator rendered as a chuckle. "A refreshing perspective. Most species build their military doctrine around enhancing their natural strengths. This brings us to why we called you here, Sextrel said. The Coalition faces a growing threat from beyond the galactic rim. The commander activated the display screen, showing a star map with several red markers near the edge. 3 outposts have gone silent in the past month, the Zeltian officer explained, voice hissing slightly. The attackers use unknown technology and tactics. Our conventional responses have been ineffective. Alex studied the map, noting the pattern of attacks. They're testing defenses, he said, thinking out loud. Probing for weaknesses. Zextral's mandibles clicked in approval. Precisely our assessment, which is why we're forming a new special operations division, one focused on unconventional tactics. We want you involved, the Taurian added. Alex looked up in surprise. Me? I'm just a first-year cadet. A first-year cadet who demonstrated exactly the kind of thinking we need, Zextral said. You will continue your studies, but with additional responsibilities. The display changed to show a training schedule. You'll work with senior combat instructors 3 days a week, helping develop a curriculum based on human adaptive tactics. And the other 2 days? Alex asked. Special training with a select group of cadets, the translucent officer explained. We're forming an experimental mixed species unit structured around complementary abilities, rather than segregated by world of origin. Alex's mind raced with the implications. Just days ago, he'd been worried about proving humans belonged at the academy. Now he was being asked to help develop training programs. This is an opportunity to show what humans can contribute to the coalition, Zexitral said. Do you accept? Alex straightened in his chair. Yes, sir. I'm honored. Good, the commander said. Report to Training Hall 7 tomorrow at 600. Your new schedule begins then. As Alex left the office, his thoughts turned to how quickly things had changed. One combat demonstration had shifted the perception of humans throughout the academy. 9 seconds. That's all it had taken. 3 months later, Alex stood before a class of mixed-species cadets in Training Hall 7. The room looked very different now. Training equipment from dozens of worlds lined the walls, and the space had been modified to accommodate species with widely varying physical needs. Today we're going to practice combination techniques, Alex announced to the 20 cadets assembled before him. Each of you has mastered basic redirections. Now we'll learn how different species can work together to create something more effective than any of us could do alone. Commander Zexitral stood at the back of the room, watching with his arms crossed. Over the past months, he had shifted from skeptic to supporter, often joining Alex's training sessions to observe or assist. Lyric, Grenda, come forward, Alex called. The tall Saurian and the stocky Taurian stepped onto the central mat. They made an odd pair, one insect-like with an exoskeleton, the other resembling a humanoid bull with thick hide and powerful muscles. Lyric has speed and precision, Alex explained to the class. Grenda has strength and endurance. Apart, they each have weaknesses. Together, they can complement each other perfectly. Alex guided the 2 cadets through a demonstration where Lyric used his quick reflexes to redirect an opponent toward Grenda, who could then use her superior strength to complete the takedown. The key is to think of yourselves as components of a single system, Alex continued. No species is perfect. We all have strengths and weaknesses. But together, those weaknesses can disappear. As the class paired off to practice, Zexistral approached Alex. Impressive progress, the commander said. 3 months ago, many of these cadets barely spoke to species from other worlds. Now they're training together voluntarily. Necessity is a powerful motivator, Alex replied, watching as a floating Zeltian practiced complex maneuvers with a rock-like granulite. Speaking of necessity, Zextral lowered his voice. We've received new information about the rim attacks. The commander handed Alex a data pad. The screen showed images of a damaged outpost. Strange burn marks covered the walls, and equipment had been twisted in ways that defied normal physics. This is from Outpost 12, Zextral explained. The only facility to partially survive an attack. The Coalition Council is concerned. Alex studied the images carefully. These aren't normal weapons. No, the commander agreed, which is why your special operations unit is being accelerated. Alex looked up in surprise. Accelerated? We're still in training. Training ends today, Zexatral said. The Council has authorized the formation of the first Mixed Adaptive Response Team. Your team. My team? Alex repeated, stunned. You've proven the concept works, the commander continued. The 12 cadets you've been training most closely will form the core unit. Kira and Nick are already preparing the equipment. Alex's mind raced. When he'd arrived at the academy, humans were seen as weak newcomers. Now he was being given command of a special operations team. There's more, Zexatral added. The Council has approved wider implementation of human combat techniques throughout the Defense Corps. Every cadet will now receive basic training in adaptive tactics. The commander's mandibles moved in what Alex had come to recognize as a Viridian smile. You've changed how the Coalition thinks about combat, Harper. About strengths and weaknesses. All I did was show what humans have known for centuries, Alex said. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from adapting to overcome weakness. Zexatral placed one of his 4 hands on Alex's shoulder, a gesture of respect he rarely showed. 9 seconds, the commander said. That's all it took to begin changing 1,000 years of military doctrine. Around them, the cadets continued their practice, bodies of wildly different forms moving in coordinated harmony. Your team ships out tomorrow, Zexatral said. You'll patrol the rim sectors, testing new response protocols against whatever's out there. Alex watched his students, now his team members, with pride. We'll be ready, sir. I know you will, the commander replied. The attackers expect us to respond as we always have, with brute force and traditional tactics. They don't expect human adaptability. Alex smiled. Good. Underestimating your opponent is always a mistake. As the training session continued, Alex reflected on how far he'd come. From being mocked as a weak human cadet to commanding an elite unit in just 3 months. Sometimes it only takes 9 seconds to change everything.